Okay.
Oh, this one.
You see me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know why it's not zooming. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, we'll go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Design Review Board for the City of Litchfield Park. So there's no pledge or anything, so we'll move right into the first item of business is design plans for an addition exterior remodel proposed for 1114 North Oro Vista. And is Jason present to give us a staff report?
Hi, Chair. Yes, thank you. Welcome, board members of the public. Hi, Pam. The first item, as you said, is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if you don't mind. It kind of our typical routine, so we can all follow along together. Give me 1 second here. Here we go. All right, so for the 1114 North Oro Vista, the applicant seeks approval for the addition of a new bedroom, office, and laundry and closet to the rear of their existing residence. I've added in the rear elevation for quick reference on the staff report, and as well a portion of the overall building's floor plan. I couldn't quite fit the whole site plan on there without taking up the whole page, but clearly you can see the addition portions are in the rear of the residence, not facing a public street. And then in the elevation above, you can see they've maintained the roof line, window fenestration kind of treatments around the windows and scale as the rest of the residence. The application does note in its text component that this is a remodel, but to further clarify, it appears that in the floor plan that it's really just a remodel for the interior. It wasn't an exterior remodel. And there's a separate note on the elevations that say that the stucco finish and paint color shall match that of the existing residence. That said, staff finds that the additional add value to the residents, the overall neighborhood, and we're recommending approval, subject to the standard condition that all colors, building materials, and finishes shall match those of the existing residents.
Okay. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
And would you like, is there any information you want to share with us?
Not really. We are really just seeking a standard edition. There's really nothing atypical about the proposal. And like I said, we'll go in for a building permit once you guys approve. So no, I don't really have anything further to add.
Okay, thank you. Do any of the board members or have any questions for staff or the applicant? None? Would someone like to propose a motion?
Sure.
Oh, hi, Brian.
I move that we that we approve the application at. Sorry, I'm trying to go back and forth at 1114 North Oro Vista, and that we approve it based off of staff's recommendations and their requirements added at the end, that everything matches the existing.
Okay.
I'll second.
And I have a second. Rachel?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye or wave your hand for Pam.
Aye.
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 We have, we lost Dave somewhere.
Aye.
Okay. Are there any nays? No. Okay, then it passes. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, now I got to get back to my. Okay, I'm gonna move that over. Options. Oh, that didn't work. I can't get back to my screen so I can get the agenda. Share screen. Huh. No. Sorry. Oh, there we go.
Does that help if I
Yes,
stop sharing?
yes, thank
Sorry,
you.
I was hogging the screen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. It's good when you're showing your screen, but then I can't find my screen. All right, item B, design plans for roof-mounted solar panel installation proposed for 310 North Cloverfield Circle. Jason, you have a report on that one? You're muted.
Thank you. Just 1 second, if you don't mind. I'm actually going to pull up, see if I need to. I found it. Okay, great. I was looking for the PDF bundle for the applicant submittal documents in case I need to share it. So let me go ahead and roll into the staff report. All right, so for 310 North Cloverfield Circle, it's a request for a solar electric panel installation on the flat roof of an existing residence. As a reminder to the board, of course, and to the public, per the zoning ordinance of Litchfield Park, 3 requirements must be met for the placement on the roof, and that will be A, that the panels shall be screened from public view, B, the height of such screening at a minimum shall be the height of the solar energy collector panel, and C, that the screening may be a parapet or by a screening wall replicating the materials of the building. Look at the exhibits provided by the applicant, and it looks like they've got a parapet on all 4 sides of the roof. However, in the very front of the home, that's where the parapet's the shortest, as though the roof tilts and drains maybe to the rear of the home. We can have them clarify. But that said, they did provide a picture showing measurements, which I'll share with the board. I'm going to pull that up really quick on the separate PDF that I'm referring to as I toggle here between exhibits. 1 second. Okay. So I'm sharing the screen now that shows you the tilt of the panels. You can see that at their highest point, you should see that they're about 1 foot 2 inches off the top of the roof. And then the applicant has provided these photos that show in the front of the home, you've got about 7 inches of clearance on the parapet. And in the rear, or as you get to the sides, you can see it's much greater, presuming that the top of the roof must slant to the back, where the roof would drain maybe to the rear yard. So the concern, of course, that staff has is that the front of the home's solar electric panel array, if you look here, the panels may be closest to the front of the home where the parapet may be shortest, that you'd have about 6 to 7 inches of panel visible from the street as they pop up over the top of the parapet in relative close proximity to that wall. Staff would suggest to the applicant to strongly consider reducing the angle or pitch of at least the first array, so that we can lower the heights down and it wouldn't be quite as visible. In the past, we've looked at sometimes allowing a few inches to pop up because it's kind of presumed the line of sight from the street. You really won't catch it or won't be so visually obvious that they're exceeding the height. But that said, as presented, they don't meet conditions of the ordinance of A and B. So we would suggest that as a mitigating component to get staff approval, that they lower the height of those panels in the front row or the front array at least.
And is the applicant present?
Sure, it doesn't appear we have anybody in the meeting room besides the Sun Health for the next item and staff and then board.
Okay, so then we can, I have one question, is that because I'm noticing the direction of the solar, and it seems like mostly they like to tilt it to the south, and south is down, so it's at an angle. So are they gonna tilt, so it looks like saw teeth, or are they all gonna be tipped to the back of the property, which is more west, southwest? So that was the question, which way are they gonna tilt those panels?
That makes sense. Myself, I'm not 100% certain. Yeah, I can see what you mean, where the top end would be over here and the lower
Yeah.
end, they're like a sawtooth across the front, or they tilted front to back going this direction.
I mean, normally the sawtooth, it reduces the efficiency because they shade each other. So, but there's no explanation, and I agree that the first row probably should be lower down. So I think until we get the applicant present, we won't be able to approve this until we get their more information. So ask for a motion to continue this to the next meeting unless the applicant shows up before we are finished with our meeting tonight.
I'll make a motion that we continue this to the next meeting of the Design Review Board. The item being the proposed solar panel installation for 310 North Cloverfield Circle.
Do I have a second? Second? Okay, thanks. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks. All right, we'll move on to item C, site landscaping, lighting, and architectural plans proposed for 15.5 acres of the orchard at Rancho La Loma, a residential senior living development at the northwest corner of Camelback and Litchfield Roads. So Jason, you want to give us your overview on this?
Definitely, Chair. I'll go ahead and share my screen once more to show you the staff report. I've embedded images in this. As well, if we need to, I can toggle to the actual exhibits provided by the applicant. And I know the applicant's here with Sun Health. I see that Paul is in the meeting room, as well as Carolyn Oberholzer, his attorney representative. So as you may know, Council's recently adopted the ordinance for the planned area development rezoning case for Sun Health. Which has allowed them to proceed forward with their design review board application that includes the site plan, landscaping, grading and drainage, and building elevations for 15.5 acres of the project. That 15.5 acres is located within the 82-acre conceptual development plan that was also approved by City Council. It is this same 15.5 acres which will need to move forward to the City Council through what's called a final development plan under separate application in the very near future, as ultimately per zoning, council will have the final blessing on the exhibits within that application, which are likely to include building elevations, landscaping, etc. It was the council's choice to present that additional layer of scrutiny on the project to ensure conformity with not only the zoning ordinance, but the development agreement that went in tandem with the zoning approval. So you can see down below, I've kind of placed a bird's eye image that kind of gives you a nice, wraparound, if you will, of what the full project entails. There's going to be 3 housing types. They're referred to as casitas, villas, and terraces. So you're going to have some lower density single level units. You can see one down here where they have their own independent driveways and garages. These are the largest, most, I guess I'm going to call it most independent of living, but they're the most spread out, if you will, of living. And then the density starts to go up as you get to these larger houses here. And then the higher density units in the back, where there's, I believe, a cluster of up to 16 units per building in those. So in the casitas, you'll find about 2,500 to 2,700 square feet for each unit. So they're relatively large. The terrace units have approximately 5 units with a live above. The garages you can see pop out here, and then there's live above those garages. You can see the elevations, and I'll show you some of the elevations as we scroll through. And in the back, it's more of a stacked living concept. Again, all of the units, there's 1 parking space provided per unit, which does exceed the ordinance requirement of just 0.7 spaces per unit. That parking requirement dimension, or that parking requirement tally would be somewhat less than you would find in a standard kind of multifamily project due to this being an age-restricted community. It's not anticipated that there will be as many cars per resident as you might find in an all ages community. Ultimately, there's anticipated to be between 60 and 76 units at build out. The reason that you're going to find a spread amongst those units is that there are actually components of phasing within the project where SunHealth will start with a number of buildings at first as they build out this 15.5 acres. And based upon their sales success of the different types of units, that may drive the reallocation of lower or higher density units with one another. But the footprints of those units, the way they've been designed, is that they can be interchangeable. So although it's not 100% known exactly what will go on each parcel, similar to almost like a standard plan, right? The idea is to ask the board to approve the architecture and concept, the site plan landscaping and concept, with the understanding that the SunHealth is requesting some flexibility and interchanging some of those building units. I'll go down and you can see this is a very high level landscaping and floor plan detail that you can see lays out. Now, the orientation of this could be confusing. North is actually to your left. So this is becoming of Denny Boulevard over here. And all of these units would be built out to the west of the campus, for the existing SunHealth campus over here, and then extend to the north. These would be the Casita units, which are the lower density to the south, the medium density up here, continuing, some interchangeable, and then the higher density 16 unit each buildings would be up here, built across two phases. My understanding is they just want to build one of the 16 unit buildings now, and then at a later phase, they'll build out the second building. The kind of overriding design vision that they have at SunHealth is the idea that these buildings would be clustered around significant amounts of open space within the project. As required by their PAD zoning ordinance, they're required to provide a minimum of 15% open space. In the case of these buildings, there's significant open space, approximately 60% open space, which is quite significant for SunHealth's project. You know, with the parking interspersed here, not a whole lot of surface parking needed since so much of it's in the garage. The outer streets providing access, and then a series of sidewalks and pathways that connect to the park space and connect between buildings. The three housing types that I described before are mentioned. One is the casitas. They've got a couple different elevation types. One is the contemporary style. This may remind you a bit of the community center building that they had approved several months ago. That's not yet constructed, but it definitely brings in some of the more contemporary Southwest. I'm not sure what to call it. The chair probably has a better terminology than I do as an architect, but more of that kind of Southwestern modern, a Southwestern modern look to it. Whereas if you go to the second elevation type that's also available in a kind of a duplex casita unit, you'll have a more traditional, I don't know what you'd call that. It's got stone veneer, exposed rafter tails, you know, concrete tile roof lines, pitched roof lines. Maybe it's a Southwest contemporary.
It's kind of a Spanish style still.
Yeah, it's certainly, yes, a Spanish style compared to the contemporary one, which is a more cubist design. The terrace, the fiveplex units are located here. This is where you see the two-story, not one story, but a two-story stacked unit with garages beneath. These are, again, fiveplexes, which means there's 5 dwelling units per building. So they are more dense, of course, in the casita units, but they're not quite as dense as the villas, which are the 3-story stacked units, which also include garages. This would be, again, more of that condominium style stacked living, where you have garages on the first level and then a series of, you know, units with balconies on the second and the third levels. And right now, again, in the very first construction phase, they plan to build one of these, and then ultimate build out of this phase would include 2 of them on the north end of the site plan. Number of items to kind of go through. This is a little bit less fun than looking at the elevations, but the city engineer has reviewed the request. There's several items that are takeaways from this that are being followed up upon actively with SunHealth. Their engineer is Hilgard Wilson, who's provided some information as late as today. Few things to confirm is that we're expecting to receive approval from Goodyear Fire. As a reminder, if you look at the site plan, access to this is like one big giant loop cul-de-sac, right? Because it doesn't punch through a Collector Street access out to Litchfield Road yet. That'll be future phases of development. Right now, all of the access will more or less kind of wiggle down to Camelback Road through Denny Boulevard. It's anticipated then that they'll get further access in the future, but that would be later phases of development. And I'm not certain what that timetable might be. The final development plan of this, again, will require a traffic impact study. I believe that, again, SunHealth, in conjunction with the city engineer, will be negotiating the parameters related to the traffic impact study that will drive their required roadway improvements. So again, that will be handled by the city engineer through terms of the development agreement and the final development plan that goes to the city council. We talked about the request for the provision for flexibility in the housing pods that are the same size and interchangeable, which would replace lower density and higher density units possibly with one another. We've covered already that they've met their 15% open space, clearly by exceeding that by quite a lot. And we've also confirmed since the writing of this report that the number of units proposed with this portion of the conceptual development plan is at or less than what's already allowed by their zoning ordinance, PUD zoning ordinance. And lastly, I think I'd let Paul speak to this. What we heard loud and clear from the council as in the kind of final stages of the zoning process was that they wanted to see a clear implementation of making sure that this project in the campus built out with a pathway network. And that's a pathway is more so defined as a 10-foot wide sidewalk in the code. And the intention of having a sidewalk that wide or that in specific locations where necessary. And for those residents that choose to own and maneuver about on golf carts rather than maybe not able to walk, but also don't want to drive a large vehicle, they want to have the golf cart lifestyle that we're accustomed to in Litchfield Park and wanting to make sure that that vision continues into SunHealth. That we accommodate cart paths, and the cart paths are intended to connect people in places, like parkways with residential units or parkways with other parkways, not just relocating all of their movement to private streets through the project and private driveways to the project, but that there's actually cart paths that meander through parks in the project. So I'd like them to take a little time to help us identify where the potential cart paths could occur. For tonight's meeting, I think we can have the discussion and that they'll, whatever the will of the design review board is, they could suggest that prior to approval of their building improvement plans and their civil improvement plans, that they've identified a cart path network that's been approved by the city engineer. It may not be very much, but we'd still like to see it so we know that they've taken that into account. Ultimately, staff does find that this next phase of the development is consistent with our campus vision of continuum of care in an oasis-like environment in Litchfield Park. The landscaping, again, is consistent with the existing campus and their recent approval of the community center. And their architecture intent here is, again, to take the kind of existing architecture of the medical plaza and start to kind of bridge it with more contemporary architectural trends and really give it the bolder flair with the modern stuff that you saw in there that would match the community center architecture. So they're trying to bring it kind of architecture forward, kind of with a path so it can continue down that road as future phases come before the board. So that's why you see the blend of architecture types on the campus. So that said, we're recommending approval of the orchards at Rancho La Loma, subject to the exhibits included in the application and the following conditions. Prior to city approval of the civil and building improvement plans for the project, that the applicant shall provide a traffic impact study to be reviewed and approved by the city engineer. The approval of Goodyear Fire on access points to all portions of the 15.5 acre development. Identification of, or through the provision of a pathway exhibit indicating location of the 10-foot paths that will connect the people and places on golf carts for the PUD approved exhibits. Verification that all development standards of their approved PUD development plan have been met. And that again would be through the provision of a site data table on their site plan, which I don't have yet, but they have been indicated that they will provide it. and more specific indication on the site plan of what housing pods could be interchangeable with those different housing types than is currently shown. This will provide clarity to the buildings, the building department as they receive final building plans. They'll know where those housing types are interchangeable. And so those are the only current conditions that I have for the project. And I can also access, again, the project files if you need it. Paul is on the line if he wants to answer questions on the, he has definitely got even more details of the project at his fingertips than I do, since he kind of lives and breathes the development of these plans. I'd be happy to answer questions by the board.
We can put up the site plan and then kind of, does anybody on the board have any specific questions about, I guess if we start with the site plan, we can ask questions about landscaping and the interchangeable building types. And I think we didn't bring up any lighting, and I didn't, the drawings are small, so it's hard to see. So if you, if either the applicant or staff can explain kind of I'm sure the landscaping is meant to coordinate with the existing development, but and also lighting, but it's hard to see. That's something we're supposed to approve along with landscape and architecture.
Yes, Chair and Board, if you'll entertain me for a few minutes, I can address a couple of these items. So first of all, I want to thank Mr. Sanks. I think he did a great job of introducing our project, and it is complex, and I'm so pleased to hear that Jason's almost one of our salespeople now. So, you know, when you need that second job, Jason, we can put you out on site and have you start talking to folks. I think that'll be pretty good.
I'm a few years out from living at Loma.
I don't need to live there. I want you to sell for us. You know, I think you do a pretty good job. But you know, I just wanted to address a few things. I think several of the items that Mr. Sanks brought up on our list were submitted to the city today. We submitted our traffic study. We've submitted a start of a plan of that pathing that we're going to do per the 3120 standard that was required in our zoning ordinance, which is the pathway ordinance within the city. So, you know, we're definitely wanting pathing throughout the 300 acres that we'll be developing and all the phases that we do. Internal to our senior living, you know, I think there's going to be a little bit of discussion about minimizing somewhat, just in the sense that we have some concern about the safety of our residents in relation to golf carts. We plan for golf carts. The villa buildings, the yellow ones that sit up top there, they do have a car space and a golf cart space. So we do plan on featuring golf carts and making sure that we have transitionary pathways for them. And Jason, as of today, we did submit that we can put the 10-foot wide one on this plan as well. So that will be for the council. We will have that plan up in front of them. So I think that one can be addressed. The traffic study's been addressed. Several of the other points that relate to some of those issues have been addressed. And then on our landscaping, you know, our landscaping at La Loma right now is 15 years old plus, and we've been working over the last year and have just put out a new RFP to a new landscape company to try to refreshen that. I would say that what we're planning on doing here is a little more elaborate than what we did back 15 years ago on our community. We do plan on having a much more robust type of landscaping that can be enjoyed by our residents versus something you walk by and is just meeting a code requirement. So we sort of call this a pocket neighborhood. You can see the green spaces on the inside. The parking for these units is really on the outside. So you have that front porch facing all the greens on these. And that two-story product, there's 2 units on the main floor and 3 units on the top floor with the 5 garages in the back. So there is some doorways that lead out to these areas here. So on lighting, we've got bollards around the pathways throughout here, and we have street lights. And we did get a comment from the city engineer today to add a street light up near one of the villas, and we are already accommodating that request. So I don't know how to address it too specifically, but we are bollarding our walkways so that there's good light for our residents, because that's a safety concern for us, that they be able to transition at different times of the year through light and dark. And we did already get a street light request from the city engineer, and we have, I'm not sure where it is on this plan, Mr. Sinks, but he did request one up near one of the villas, and we were accommodating that request right away. Any other questions that I can answer? You know, you can always go to the pretty elevations, Jason, if you'd like.
Well, we were on lighting and I didn't want to distract with the elevations.
You know, I want to get to the elevations. They're my sales
I
pitch.
know. I'm getting there. I wanted to show that the light bollard details were included in the photometric plan.
Thank you.
Okay. Do any of the board members have any questions about site? Oh, Jason was kind of pointing out or asking about which units were interchangeable where on the site plan, and if there's like a minimum number of the low density that the city is requesting.
So on the site plan, the two villas are very stationary. So those two yellow boxes that were on the top of the site plan, those are stationary. Those won't move from those locations. The other units down below, you see sort of a light blue and a darker blue. Those can be intermixed because the footprints work the same. However, the final plan that we submitted to the city is really where we think the maximum number of units is going to be. It would be a total, as submitted, of 76 units, and that would deduct from the total, of course, that we are allotted in this area for per the zoning case. So depending on how sales go, we may move those around, but I gave the best effort to have a final plan to the city as a requirement, and then we would be very sensitive to sort of some view corridors here that we are sensitive to. So if you look at the two villas on the top, we wanted to make sure we had low product on the street next to it, so we didn't create too much of a a wall effect on that street. We want to make sure that we still have some lighting that still can work through the buildings and other elements like that. We try to avoid doing a few together. It looks like I've got 3 of the 2-story products next to each other, but we did try to avoid that as much as we could, and it's really just going to be a matter of sales on where we do that. So it'll be less than 76 units if we do more casitas than we do terraces in this phase.
And sorry for the slowness of my program. These files are super large and my laptop is running Zoom at the same time. So it's loading them now so you can kind of see the elevations and the floor plans. So just give it a second if you don't mind to kind of load up. So I think this is actually the next page is what we want.
That looks like the roofing on the villa is what that looks like.
Yeah. The elevations are coming up now. And now I think you have, Pam, I know I have the colored one somewhere. I was really relying on the black line elevations for the presentation, but I probably would be more fun if I had the perspective renderings. I think I have those in my email from you, but I think everyone on the board can see what the 3-story units look like here, and similar to what you saw in the staff report. I'll see if I have any of the color.
I do have the staff report up, Jason, if you wanted, if I had the ability. I don't know if I have the ability.
You may be able to screen. I don't know that you can screen share or not. I don't know if they need to enable that. Did you want me to bring the staff report up? Oh, you're still looking at the staff report. I apologize. Let me switch over here. I'm not doing a good job of sharing my screen.
You're okay.
Oh, wait, so you want me to bring the staff report back up?
Those colored elevations, I think, represent the architecture a little better than the 2D non-fund document. While this is up on the screen, what I can tell the board is, and chair.
Oh, I found them. I'm sorry. I do have them. Give me 1 second.
Good.
I don't want to steal all your fun. It's coming up now.
There we go. There's a villa.
I know. Now you're happy. You can see.
Now I'm happy, and I think that just gives a little more life to the 2D elevations. And really, what we're doing with this product, we call it a hybrid product because it's not flat faced like typical apartments where you have a unit that looks straight out on the street. each unit has a balcony system and pop outs a little bit so we can get light in their living rooms from different angles, and they have a way to live exterior without feeling like they're in an apartment. And so we call it a little bit of a hybrid because it's a little more like a condoing, and it's a big building, but it feels like a smaller building when you're able to break it up like this. And that's helps us break up the elevation, and we try to incorporate as many elements of rock and textures and other items that we could on the villas. On the this would be the contemporary elevation for the casitas. So this is a duplex casita, and this would be the side facing the courtyard area and the internal. There would be garages in the back. And why we wanted to go modern on this is because we wanted to pay homage to Litchfield Park's mid-century movement that's very prevalent. And we didn't want to just stick to the, for lack of a better word, Santa Barbara, Santa Fe. We had a lot of meetings where we tried to define what the heck architecture that is, and I can't tell you if it's Spanish, Santa Barbara,
A mixture of 5 different styles into one.
Yeah. But we really thought that if we could pay homage to some of the mid-century, you know, we did that, if the board remembers, we did that with our community event center that we're building. And we'd like to carry some of that feel throughout this community. And so there aren't probably too many of these, but personally, I think it adds some flavor there. And then maybe the next one will show you the more, excuse me, this is the modern, the next one's the more contemporary one.
And I'll click over just to reiterate to the board, you may recall the standard plans that were approved for Sunset Terrace on the east side of Litchfield Road. And they did quite well with their mid-century modern inspired elevations. All right.
These casitas are the biggest units we've ever put in our communities. And part of that is because we know that there's a lot of individuals in Litchfield Park that live in 4,000 and 5,000 square foot homes. So for them to downsize 27 and 2,400 feet is actually pretty big, significant downsize for them. So we're able to. So that's
Hold on a second.
That's
We're having little issues. I just zoomed into somebody's yard here. There we go.
There we go. So the 2 buildings on the top right, those are the villas, and they're not going to move. The interchangeable would be in that field there, as you see. And this is my pretty marketing picture. It's a little behind. So where I was talking was 3 buildings near the villas. We had a terrace there. We've already replaced that with a casita and moved that terrace over to the other side on the final plan we did for the city. But these footprints for these buildings sit within each other, and that's where that swappability could come if we need. But right now at 76, I think we have the mix where we want it.
Okay.
And that would be the 2-story terrace product. So that's 2 units on the main floor. You can see the patio for one of the units there on the bottom left. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the window on the top. That's a single unit, goes all the way across the top. And on the bottom of that is the 5 single garages that has a hallway on the internal to the 3 units on the second floor. There is an elevator in this building, by the way. And then that's the more contemporary for the more traditional for the casita. So that's a same footprint, just different roofing, different elevation for that casita product. So we really hope to try to capture both elements of the community in this product. I'm hoping they sell really good because I'm really excited about these 2 and how they might fit in our community. Hope you guys are too.
Oh, they look nice.
And board and Paul and anybody, if they need any of the prior exhibits that I flipped through up, I have them all up in Bluebeam. I just need to click on the tabs. Just let me know.
Is that the last of the elevations?
Yes, that's
Last
the
of the
last of these ones. Yeah, these are the last of the colored elevations. I have the black line of everything else, and maybe I'll go back to this as a kind of a baseline. It's the portrait version of the colorized site plan in case there's a question.
Or you can look behind my head. I can move it.
Thank you. Any board members, if you have any questions, just speak up. And And I think it looks pretty good.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that coming from an architect.
Chair, you mentioned the concerns with the lighting. In regards to the photometric plans that we have and the lighting details, as the cut sheets on the back, is there something specific you'd like us to work on or consider as we?
Just the type of lighting which you answer with the bollard lighting for the pathways, and then just, I don't know if there are any other street lighting, what that looks like, or if it's just the same as what you have in the rest of the development.
Actually, I think we're going to be upgrading that for the whole community. So it'll carry a traditional feel, not too different from what we have, but maybe a little more with, there's a little more variety than there was 15 years ago in light poles. And so we think we can make that a little more, have some of those elements in there that tie it in better with the historic nature of the property and still represent current trends.
Well, if you can clarify, does that mean you're going to do it? I'm going to the photometric plan detail sheet. Are you going with right now we've got kind of the, I wouldn't call it a shoebox. It's like a shoebox. It's like a flat, what do you call that, Chair? It's a flat LED downlit, but it's not a traditional style pole that you see in some of the kind of neo-traditional communities.
And that's minimal. I think there's areas on the main street that eventually we'd like to carry more of maybe something from the hilltop in, Jason. I'm not sure how much that fits on the property itself here, but definitely want to look for that. So if you have any comments on the lighting, I have no problem working anything in on that.
So the intention with the bollards then would be to line the pedestrian pathways likely between the buildings with that. And then when you get out the open spaces where they're larger, you'll have the poles in the parking area. Can you tell us about the parking lot street lights? Are these uplights for the units? Or what are these uplighting? Are they trees?
The uplight is for the unit. Yeah, there also is some on-light building that comes down as well for pathway and for our residents to be able to see around the buildings.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at this upside down. The tree Ramada column wall uplight. I gotcha. Okay.
Those are, trees. And I think there are a couple of building applications where they apply near the trellising as well. I'm paying money for that trellis. I better light it up at night.
It sounds like then with the amount of the idea that you're uplighting your trees, your monocolumns, and your walls, that you're kind of doing the whole resort light look to it. Yeah, our clientele dictates our pathway there because we really have to make sure that it's well lit for our residents. We made that mistake once with the existing product on the back side of the building. And about 5 years ago, we came in with some solar lights to rectify that, and that really helped through there. But we won't make that mistake any future in our development. Lighting is key for our residents to pathway, and we want our residents outside.
So it's important to their safety and just feeling safe. Okay. Any other questions from the board members? No. So site plan, you're still basically working on the pathway, cart pathway, and is that something we have just withhold? That's for the city council to approve. I think tonight we're just approving site layout, landscaping, lighting, and architectural design. Is that what we're being asked to approve this evening?
Sure, yes, I believe that's appropriate. We have grading and drainage sheets as well that have been reviewed and commented on by the city engineer. But so we do sometimes include those with the DRB promotion. It's up to you. We have them, I think. I don't know if we have enough. It's such a big project. I don't pretend to have the expertise to look at grading and drainage and know what's appropriate for this project. Yeah, it's under review now, and we can make that part of the final development plan package that goes to Woody, probably, with the council action. I would ask if Paul wants to elaborate where he thinks those 10-foot the larger pathways might go. It might be just nice for the board to know.
Yes, Mr. Sanks. You're going to push me on that one, aren't you?
Well, I'm already in front of the mayor, so just doing my job.
Hey, go ahead and push in a little bit on the exhibit if you can, just a little bit. And as you can see, almost where that arrow points up above there on that first casita down from the villa, there's an arrow that points to a pathway. Jason, can you sort of see that on the casita at the
Says
top?
promenade walk.
Yeah, promenade walk. So what we've been talking about and what we submitted back today, at least initially on this for discussion, was that we'd widen that promenade walk along the road to be the 10-foot one that can transition from top to bottom there. And we may look at if there's something, that's a driveway road on the backside of that. So that would give a complete circle that way. So Jason, that's something I think we needed a little further discussion on, but minimally, I think that one can be the 10-foot wide way from top to bottom, transitioning the property. And that way you can always find a way out of the community onto a bigger path, because down at the bottom where you have the roundabout all the way around our little lake and off to the right, that's a main Denny Road, and it'll continue as a spine road. That will definitely have the 10-foot pathway, because we don't want people that are going a speed on there to have to worry about golf carts. In our communities, our speed limit is 12.5 miles an hour on our roads within our communities. So,
and if I may, Paul, I wanted to make sure that, I recognize that the scale of 15.5 acres is really not that large. And so to go from here to here is not very far, but I was thinking if there's any places for those type of permeations in the plan, so that if I was, living over here and I have my golf cart, there's ways to kind of logically cross the community without having to wind all around. Like you could find some pinch points, and maybe it's those pinch points that could solve some of that circulation, so that, they're not feeling restricted to either walking on foot, maybe they're not even that ambulatory, or having to get in a vehicle to limit them from getting around the community. So
remember, this is independent living. They're ambulatory. They
all
move.
right.
They outwalk me on a daily basis. So, but yeah, again, on the outer road, I think all of those in the regular neighborhood will definitely have it. And Jason, I'm open to a conversation on expanding that, but I think looking at that pathway system, I'd be looking at points within our pathway system that we could expand to maybe accommodate that subject to the 3120 ordinance that we're held to there. Minimally, that one from top to bottom along there would be a logical one.
That said, if you don't mind, I'll just amend my amend staff recommendation condition with C. I would just say as approved by the city engineer. Pathway exhibit indicating a location of 10-foot paths to connect people and places on golf carts for the PUD approved exhibits, subject to approval by the city engineer. Ultimately, I'll let him contend with enforcement of the standard details to the PUD and the development agreement.
For consistency, Jason, can I ask that be the 3120 versus the any other terms?
Yeah, that's fine.
But I like your solution. If that's acceptable, I'm very amicable to that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be really logical about that. He's been wanting to make sure we connect people with places in a logical manner, whether it's pedestrian or in a golf cart or in a vehicle. So,
and I think with the mayor and the city council and the city engineer, we've been making such great progress the last month and a half, 2 months. I have full confidence that we'll come to a solution from our side. I feel that we can come to a solution with that, Jason and board.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, I think it's good to have the cart path thing. It's also important to kind of separate just purely pedestrian from golf carts, especially in these retiree areas, just to keep the pedestrians a little safer. I don't know if it's a philosophy that you have this right now in the main city. We're sharing the cart path with walkers, bikers, dog walkers, and golf carts, and it sometimes can get a little hairy.
That's a bit of our concern internal to Sun Health. That's why it's a little bit of a concern for us, because I'll defend my residents' ambulatory movements and wherewithal, but having them really, on a similar path is scary inside our communities. And that's one of the reasons why we have a 12.5-mile speed limit inside our communities on the roads. But I think that, with where the city wants to go, I think there's a common ground we can come to on this. And with the safety of our residents in mind, I don't see the city not coming to a consensus with us. I've been real pleased with the way the projects have been working lately. In case the board wonders, we've had a really honest and open conversation the last few months, and I think this is just one of the little things we didn't pick up, and I think we'll be able to pick it up pretty quick and accommodate the traditional desire of pathing within the city of Litchfield Park and honor that and keep our residents safe. I think we can find a solution there.
Okay. Questions from anybody? Concerns? Does anyone want to propose a motion? And we'll limit the pathway to our to be approved by the city engineer and city council eventually.
I'll make the motion, Chairman. You move to approve. I move to approve, based upon staff recommendations, the Sun Health proposal.
Okay. Including the site layout, landscape, lighting, and architectural elevations.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you for cleaning that up for me.
Does anybody else have any? You have a second? Thanks, Dave. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Wave your hand for PM.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and your look on our project, and hope to bring more before you soon.
Looks good. Thank you. Okay. Let's see, I need my agenda back. Okay, so we're, no, I gotta get to the top. I think we just have minutes then for the possible approval of minutes for August 6th, 2020.
Make a motion that we approve.
You have a motion to approve. I have a second.
Sure, I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion or corrections? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Staff report on current events.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep it really brief. Not a whole lot of other projects going on at the moment. Still waiting for possible formal submittal for a new application for auto service, oil change style repair, and some spec retail and drive-through over at Dysart and Camelback. That would be located between Dignity Health and AutoZone. That has not yet come in, but we anticipate that in the near future. I'm not sure what the status on Denny's is. I don't know, Pam, if you have any idea if they've pulled permits yet or not, but I know that that's supposed to go over there as well. We've had some interest lately in Monument Point for some prospective users over there, some machine shop users, a couple other users who've had take a look at that. So we seem to be generating interest again over there. We sometimes forget about it until all of a sudden we get a flurry of applications. So other than that, it's just been that and the kind of the Sun Health show this last month.
Is that, Pam, do you have anything? No? Board member, any report on current events? None? Nobody has anything?
I have one thing to add. If we could welcome our new member, Ron Clare. I mentioned it
Sorry,
before
Ron.
the meeting, but I'll mention it one more time.
Welcome.
Look
Welcome,
forward to
Ron.
working.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. That's good. Okay, any other current events, staff or board member? All right, motion to adjourn. There you go. A second, all in favor? Say aye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Chair. Good
Thank
night,
you.
All right,
everybody.
have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.